I'm just not, I don't think either one of us are like that gear obsessed in any way. Like,
no, that's true. Yeah.
I have a second Instagram account that I shoot for just as much, and it's only with my iPhone.
Wow. Okay.
And that is because like the number one question I get online, it started 5 years ago, was, hey, I have $1,000 to my name, like in my whole life. Like, should I buy the Canon Rebel or the Fuji? I'm like, look, it doesn't matter. And also what you're texting me on can do most of what you want to do, especially to learn. I think that it's actually easier to learn shooting mobile than it is to shoot with a complex camera.
It's the argument for film too. You really learn to appreciate the basic things of framing it up right, because you're not going to get a second chance. And
photography is so much more about how you see things. And the art of observation than it is about the newest gear.
Right.
So I just say to anybody trying to get, into this stuff, like start with your phone, start small, like make sure you really love it. You can even find your style. Yeah. So I don't get too caught up in the gear side of it. I do love like, a good lens or something like that.
Good Noctilux, good $10,000 lens.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Just shoot on Leica glass.
Yeah. Oh, that's
But
good.
no, I do really mean that. Like, I've learned a tremendous amount about photography by limiting myself to my iPhone at times.
With that, with everyone having phones and it being super saturated, I mean, honestly, the moment Instagram and the iPhone 6, that was kind of when I was like, oh, what the heck? Why is this so good? A lot of people call themselves photographers now, right? But it wasn't until I kind of found y'all's little pocket of photographers that I was like, holy smokes, I've said this 4 times already, but I was like, there is something unique. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but these are people who are bringing in their own perspective into their work. And so how, like, for someone who's maybe been shooting on their iPhone for years and they love it, but maybe they're just having a hard time standing apart because it is so saturated, right? What's some advice that you would give to them?
The first piece of advice I would give is don't fall into the trap of trying to please the algorithm. Don't shoot for numbers. Because if you're shooting for numbers, you're going to pigeonhole yourself into creating work and getting literally trapped in a cycle of making things you don't actually love. And that's defeating the purpose of a creative life. A creative life for me, ideally should be you are becoming more and more unequivocally yourself and attracting the people that like you for who you are.
Right.
And that's my goal. It's very tempting to take that like super oversaturated sunset shot with beautiful girl dead center in the middle, like walking into the distance. And that's going to get a lot more likes because this is the first time we've ever really had pop photography.
Right.
In the same way that we got pop music after electric instruments were more democratized and computers and, so there is this strain of visual art that is extremely crowd pleasing, but it's also the most generic rush to the middle kind of game. And it's a really good way to get numbers, but then you're stuck making this kind of like sugar coated, unrealistic, like I always look at those pictures. I'm like, what is this a picture of?
Yeah.
It looks like it's a picture of color or, it's like, it's a cool way to learn about specific techniques maybe. If you're like, oh, like look at all this crazy bokeh or prisms and stuff like that. But I think the key is to like make sure that there's a story or a subject or something in there, and make sure you're doing what you really love. Because if it becomes your job, it's going to be most of your life.
Yeah, I think to piggyback on what Dave is talking about here is just one, be as genuine as you can and be true to yourself and be real with yourself. Because if all you want is the end goal, if you were coming into it and creating this art with the end goal of I just want bigger numbers, then that's going to show throughout anything you make, so it's not going to come off as genuine. And you can always tell who's doing it because they love, photography or music or video, and who's doing it because they want a certain level of success and influence. But I think if you stay true to yourself, it might take a little longer, but the people that truly connect with you are the ones that are going to matter most. And 2 is like seek out and find the communities of people that are doing the same things you're doing, or like-minded people who are like trying to get to where you want to get to. And if there isn't a community, then make one. A lot of times, you just, one of the first things that happened to me, I was super introverted, and, Instagram used to host these like worldwide meetups. And I saw that a weekend was coming up in New York and no one had organized anything. And I was like, wait, what? No one's organized everything? Someone was like, why don't you organize it? And I was like, I'm so introverted. Like, I don't know if I want to do this. And I was just like, I kept waiting for someone to, organize something. And for a lot of things, just people don't want to plan. People don't want to be the planner. They don't want to be the one that's like trying to get everyone together. And that's like,
also people are lazy.
Yeah, people are lazy. I'm lazy.
And busy.
Yeah.
Me too.
And
I'll be a part of this. Just go to sleep.
No, and especially
exactly.
now, it's really tough to get people together with a common goal.
Yeah.
Especially, in a creative pursuit. But we're all out there, and there's a lot of creatives who are like looking for guidance or looking for communities, and they're just too lazy to organize something or too lazy to get out, from behind the screens and meet up in real life. And I think a lot of what, the conversations that I've heard and that Dave and I have been a part of lately is how do you bring that sense of community back? How do you get more people together to create art in collaboration? I think for a long time, we all, got our path started and our careers going, and, you were focused on doing things yourself and being the one man band man and just doing everything, design and copywriting and doing all these things. Whereas I think now we're all just more concerned with working in a team and how do you make better things together with the people that you really respect and, have a common interest with. Yeah. And I think for anyone starting out, it's just, create these groups or look to work with more people.
Y'all were the cool kids in the beginning with Instagram, right? It's this new thing. I'm sure older photographers were like, screw this. What is this? You're sharing your work. You're a part of this. Like, you're telling them your secrets, no, screw that. You guys embraced it. And now we've come there's a whole new wave of social media sites, right? And there's YouTube and Twitter and TikTok and all of these things. How have you guys maybe evolved as Instagram has evolved? And are you curious about these other platforms?
Yeah, absolutely. Change is the only constant, right? So none of this stuff is permanent. And I think the key is to be open-minded and be flexible. Because I do know photographers that were like very well-established photographers that in principle hated what Instagram was all about, because it was this kind of like, once you put the work in and you made it past the gatekeepers and you become like a published famous photographer, the idea that you could reach more people by giving it away for free is like the antithesis of what you've learned and worked for. And I think that there's a tendency, and I even feel it in myself, to like look at the new waves of content coming up and laughing it off as not, this is just clickbaity, or like it's
youngsters out there.
Yeah, but I always try to remember how I felt, with access to a new platform and to have the gatekeepers removed and being able to be in control of my own distribution network, which gave me a career and my creative freedom. So I salute the people doing, thriving on these new platforms. And I just hope that I can like figure out something that works for me where I don't like make myself irrelevant by being unwilling to evolve.
Right.